Hello friends and neighbors, welcome to the Blind Piper channel. I am the Blind Piper. I appreciate you tuning in today. Well, today is a video that I've been trying to make for quite a while now and just never seemed to get around to it. There's been a lot of questions since I started this channel about my vision or lack thereof. And if you've watched the channel introduction video, I had mentioned that the reason for the name of this channel is because I have a eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. Before I get started, I am smoking my little no-name briar pipe, the first pipe I ever bought about 15 years ago. From the Country Squire, from the Gatlin Burlier in Gatlinburg. And in it today, I'm smoking a little London Burley. A blend that I have really come to enjoy thanks to Paladin Piper. I should have bought more than 110 of it, and of course when I went back to buy more, it was out of stock. So I'm gonna try not to make this video too long because I don't want to bore people for one, and two, I've never been good about talking about myself. So I don't like talking about myself. So as I mentioned, I have an eye condition called retinitis pigmentosa. I'm not gonna go into great detail what retinitis pigmentosa is. If it's something you're interested in learning more about, there is plenty of information online about it. But basically, it is a retinal degenerative retina disease that causes the rods and cones in your eyes to very slowly deteriorate over time, eventually leading to totally blindness. Ordinarily, it's an eye condition that doesn't really appear until teens, 20s, somewhere in there. I actually have a friend who he's 61 and he has the same eye condition I do, and up until about 10 or 15 years ago he was still driving. He finally had to give up driving, like I said, about 10-15 years ago. But growing up and everything, he knew he didn't see as well as everybody else, but it was still at the point where he could drive. And actually he has, I think, 2 sisters and 3 brothers, something like that. Anyway, all of his siblings all have the same eye condition except for one, which is interesting. It's ordinarily, it is a hereditary eye condition. I'm an only child, and to our knowledge, no one else in my family has ever had it. So I don't really know where it comes from. It is possible that somebody in my family had it at one time and it was just never diagnosed. I don't know when they discovered that RP was a eye condition, or I know I had an aunt that passed away from a brain tumor, and I know towards the end of her life she started losing vision rapidly, but they say that was related to the brain tumor, nothing to do with an eye condition. But some people, such as myself, I was born already pretty much severely visually impaired. I was diagnosed at the age of 2, I believe it was, and they knew from a very early age that there was something not right about my vision. Most people with RP, they start losing peripheral vision. I can't say that word. Peripheral vision, and it eventually dwindles down to like you're almost looking through a straw. My vision, and I've only met one other person, I think, that his vision is like mine. My peripheral vision is actually better than what they call central vision, your straight ahead vision, which is a big part of why the tripod that I use has a light on it, because I use that light to figure out where my camera is. If not, the camera's gonna be in front of me and I'm gonna be pretty much looking like this, trying to figure out where the camera is, but the light allows me, I have central vision, but it's hard for me to focus straight ahead. And but at least with that light there, I can kind of get the general direction. Sometimes people mention that I might be looking at them, but my eyes are looking at something else. That's because as an eye doctor explained to me one time, your eye chooses the strongest part of your eye to focus through, and my central straight ahead is the weakest part of my eye, and it won't allow my eyes to focus straight ahead. So that's why a lot of times I won't be looking straight ahead, or it might look like my eyes are looking off to something off to the side or something. But anyway, it's weird. It's not, for retinitis pigmentosa, it's very uncommon to have somebody who has decent peripheral vision. It's beagles back here going crazy. It's fairly uncommon. Like I said, most people with retinitis pigmentosa, their central vision is the part that is good, and it's almost like looking through blinders, I guess. But yeah, my my vision is very hard to explain. It's something that I wish that I could explain better, because all my life people have been genuinely curious about it, and it even confuses me. As Mrs. Piper tells me all the time, sometimes I think my vision's better than it is. And sometimes I think she knows more about my vision than I do. She said that she can actually tell when I'm losing vision more than I can tell. For me, it happens so gradually, a lot of times I don't notice it until it gets to a point where I start, as she says, I'll start getting frustrated in the kitchen, or start getting frustrated when I'm trying to do something, because I'm suddenly realizing I can't see something that I used to be able to see. But I wish I could explain it better. It's very hard to explain. I mean, even people that's known me my whole life still can't really figure out what I see and what I don't. So as a small child, my parents enrolled me into the Tennessee School for the Blind, starting out in kindergarten. When I was in preschool, I'm not sure what her job title was at the time. I'm just going to say low vision specialist that worked for the blind school. I think her job basically was to go out to surrounding counties around Nashville and work with small children. Here in Louisville, they have a program called, in Louisville, Kentucky, they have a program called VIPS, Visually Impaired Preschool. And they didn't have that in Tennessee, at least at the time. I don't know if they do now or not, but when I was a kid, they didn't. So they had a person that was worked out of the school for the blind in Nashville that would go around to surrounding counties and stuff and work with small children around that were low vision or totally blind. And obviously, she started talking to my parents about the blind school, and they ended up enrolling me in the blind school. So I remember when I started out in kindergarten at the blind school, until that point I had never been around anyone else who was visually impaired or even totally blind. And it was a new experience for me, because I was the way I was and I didn't know any different. At the time, I think I just assumed a lot of the other kids were like me and they didn't see good either. I don't know. But I remember it was different when I remember my first, when I first came to the blind school, it was different. I'd never encountered kids that couldn't see. I swear, no matter what I smoke in this pipe, it gurgles. But anyway, as a small child in kindergarten, they started going through the basics with me, teaching me how to read and write and all that. And of course, I was learning to read and write with print way bigger than what most people would start with, because it was the only thing I could see. I remember they had paper that had I bet the spaces, the line spaces on that page were probably an inch or inch and a half tall when I started learning to read and write. But that was the only thing I could see. But at the same time they were teaching me how to read and write print, I was also learning Braille, which was neat. You know, if you're gonna do that, that's definitely the perfect time to do it. Is when you're a small child, because I just thought it was normal. So kindergarten, first, second, I think into the third grade, I was using both print and Braille to do my schoolwork. Um, the reason they taught me Braille to begin with was because having the eye condition that I have, um, it's they're preparing you because you're going to lose vision, and they was trying to prepare me for when that time comes that I could just transition into Braille and just keep going, which was a smart move. When I hit the third grade, it got to where I was struggling more, especially when you start, as you get into third grade and everything, you're getting more school books and stuff to have to read. And they discovered that it was just getting too hard for me to read print. I had a magnifying glass at the time, a pretty strong one, and it just, it wasn't doing the trick. So they transitioned me into a full-time Braille student. And as I started getting a little bit older, of course, they had home ec in school, which home ec at the blind school is a little different than home ec at a normal school. I don't even know if they teach home ec anymore. They should. But home ec at the blind school, you're learning to do the normal things in life as a low vision or totally blind person. And wonderful, wonderful skills to learn. I had a wonderful teacher for that. She was very patient. Definitely somebody that was born to do that job. She had a lot of patience and a lot of creative ways of teaching people. You know, I saw people, including myself, learn to do things that were, people that were totally blind that learned to do things that you would never think a totally blind person would be able to do, as far as, you know, cooking and stuff. Those were basic skills that I needed to learn. As I moved into teenage years, we had bought some property, and we had added some fencing in the property for our horses, and we later ended up having some cows. And the back half of our property, there was a creek kind of dividing almost the back half of our property from the front half, basically. There was a small field that was maybe a couple acres behind the on the other side of the creek, and then the rest of our property back there was all woods. Well, we wanted to add some fencing back to the creek and across the creek so we could let the horses go back across the creek, and it was a nice field with some nice grass back there. And but we just wanted some extra place for the horses to be able to go. And my dad had found out about a couple guys that were my age, about 14 or so at the time, local guys that lived down the street, and he, a couple of farmers and stuff around had mentioned that they kind of hired them out sometimes to help out with stuff. So my dad got a hold of them and had them come help us do fencing one weekend. And I got to know these two boys. You know, they were my age. I got to know them a little bit, and seen that we had a lot of things in common. We loved old cars and trucks and fishing and hunting and all that stuff. And it was really neat for me to get to know kids that were my age outside of my school that were into the stuff that I was into. Because, you know, growing up at the blind school, I was into things that, for the most part, kids my age at the blind school just weren't into. You know, I was always a car guy. I mean, you know, I think my mom has a picture of me when I was like 2 years old or younger. I may have been even younger, but I remember she's got it framed in her house. But it's a picture of me wearing suspenders and holding a toy car. But she said I've been obsessed with cars since, and my dad they've both said that I was obsessed with cars as long as they can remember. And but you know, growing up with kids that were blind and visually impaired, they just weren't really into cars because that's something that sighted people do. But anyway, I met these boys that were, you know, my age, and they were, one of them had a '66 Chevrolet truck, and the other one had a '72 Ford. I'm a Ford guy. I love old Ford trucks. Always have been. I've always been a big Ford truck guy. I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of old Ford trucks, and that's something I'll get into more on another video. But the one boy had a '72 Ford F100 short bed, and man, I just love that truck. And his daddy had one that they were almost matching trucks. They had two trucks that were almost identical. One was his, one was his dad's. His dad had what we called the sissy truck at the time. It was a 6-cylinder, 3-speed, 3-speed in the floor. But anyway, yeah, I got to know these boys and hanging out with them a little bit, and started meeting a couple other guys that were, you know, their friends that were, you know, same age as us. And during the summer, I ended up talking to my dad, and I said, I think I want to try to go to public school. He said, what do you mean you want to go to public school? I said, I'm meeting these guys, and these guys have a lot in common with me, and it's fun to hang out with guys, you know, people my own age and everything outside of school. And I said, I feel sheltered. I feel really sheltered being at the blind school. I said, I want to get out and enjoy the things that I'm interested in and meet people my age. So we had a meeting with our superintendent from the blind school, and told him what I was thinking about doing, and he agreed. He said, try it out. If you like going to public school, great. If it don't work out, you're always welcome to come back to the blind school. The blind school is kindergarten through 12th grade. It's a one-stop shop for school. But anyway, I enrolled into public school for my 10th grade year, and immediately started making friends. It was a little bit harder for me to make friends, I guess, because, you know, all these guys grew up together. I didn't know but about 4 people, really. And anyway, started getting to know more guys, hanging out with them a little bit. Started, you know, piddling around, working on cars, hanging out at their houses. They'd hang out at my house, you know, typical teenage boy stuff. And academically, going to public school was not the greatest decision. The county school system was not prepared to teach someone such as myself. I was lucky that the county vision teacher, who is he's a guy that was assigned to work with all children in the school district in the county that were blind or visually impaired. Lucky for me, his office was based out of my high school, and there was a total of, I think, 3 of us in the whole county. So he spent most of his time at my school, and I spent a lot of my time in his office doing my schoolwork. They put a what they call a screen reader program. It's a speech program they put on a computer for me in his office, and it basically takes everything on the screen and reads it speech to the speakers. And they got me a Braille writer, and I want to say I think they even put a Braille printer in there so I could do stuff on the computer, or he could scan stuff from the school books into the computer and then print it out in Braille for me so I could read my assignments. A lot of times I want to say there was only 1 or 2 classes that I actually was able to get Braille books. So basically everything else, like I said, he had to take the book, the lesson we were doing, scan it into the computer, and then print it out. And they definitely had it, because I remember reading my stuff. It's been what, 20 years, I think, since I've been in school now. Yeah, I remember him giving me my lessons in Braille, to do, and then I would type out answers and stuff on the computer and just print them out and then turn it in. But academically, like I said, the school system wasn't really prepared for a student such as myself. But socially, it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, and my parents as well. Like I said, it wasn't so great on the academic level, but socially wise, it was great. I definitely think the way I did it, I've heard of people doing the opposite. Going to the blind school as a small child, growing up, and then transferring it into the public school realm of things, I think was definitely the way to go. I've also seen people do the opposite, where they had kids in public school and they started struggling due to their vision, and then move into the blind school. That to me, that doesn't work out as well. But anyway, I took auto mechanics in high school. I took wood shop and all that in high school. I didn't get to experience the things I would have really liked to experience as much in those classes, due to basically the teachers being scared I was going to hurt myself. But my wood shop teacher actually was a little bit more relaxed on that than my auto mechanics teacher was. There was one guy in my wood shop class that cut his thumb off, and it wasn't me. I never hurt myself in wood shop in school. But even at the blind school, when I was in like junior high, we had wood shop at the blind school, and it was awesome. That was some of my favorite times at the blind school, was doing wood shop. So when I got out of high school, trying to figure out what I was going to do after that, trying to figure out, college, or I already knew I didn't want to go to college. Academically, I've never been a big academics person at all. I loved history in school, U.S. history specifically. World history, I almost flunked. U.S. history, I loved. I actually did fairly well in English. I didn't like English, but I did fairly well. Math, I hated. But there was two things I wanted to do when I got out of school, and it was either go to something automotive related, mechanics or auto body, or I wanted to go to mortuary school to be a funeral director. I don't know what that noise is out there. I don't know if y'all can hear that on camera or not. Almost sounds like a nail gun, and it sounds very close to my house, and I don't know why. Shouldn't be nobody at my house using a nail gun. But anyway, my options for after I graduated high school for me were going to be either mortuary school or auto mechanics, auto body, somewhere in that area. And I'm actually going to save that part for a part 2 video. And I probably let this video go on too long already, and probably bored you. But I need to get some things done, and I'll make a part 2. I was going to do this all in one, but I feel like I drug this part out too long already. But I hope you'll tune in for the next part. I'm going to do part 2 of after high school. But I hope you enjoyed this part. I've had a lot of questions about my vision and stuff, and I just wanted to try to enlighten you a little bit more about my eye condition, and me living with an eye condition, I guess that it would be. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for part 2. Hopefully I'll get part 2 out pretty soon, hopefully this weekend. And I appreciate you watching. So anyway, until next time, I wish blessings for all and lots of luck to you and yours.